So, I had a conversation with one of my friends yesterday, and it was a really good conversation. We were talking about ways that we begin the divine feminine process, transitioning, transforming, transmuting into our higher selves. And I just thought it was so amazing to learn from her because I haven't done that with anybody to kind of bounce back off and say, hey, is this normal? It's only been TikTok, which is good, right? But I've never heard someone, in real time explain the beginning of what they're doing. So I'm going to share that with you today, which is all about learning who you are, loving who you are, and being able to identify when your divine masculine comes so that you begin the union that is divinely guided because we got a lot to do here on earth. Okay. So let's get started. So my friend and we were talking yesterday, and I was just telling her some of the things I'm experiencing since I have had this great awakening. And I was just showing her as best I could visually, but with my words, some of the benefits of when you begin your journey of healing, self healing, right? You have your self healing, childhood traumas, and loving yourself so that you can, which is what I'm sure is intended for us to collaborate with one another and get back to a loving earth, right? So we were discussing these things. And so she had shared with me that she was doing these steps, which she didn't know she was doing. She said she had disconnected from her, her parental um, parent. And she was beginning to cut a lot of family members off. And prior to her saying it, I don't think she knew she had started the process already. And so I had told her that, for me, where I'm at is I practice abstinence. And so when you practice abstinence as a divine feminine, you are allowing yourself to hold in all of your power, right? And we have that power because we have kids. We're a portal. And so when you don't share your portal and you don't share your power, you begin to look very youthful and you begin to look glowy. You have a certain aura around you and it's magnetizing, which is another gift that God will bestow upon you. You'll have the gift of magnetism, and you'll also learn the power of seeing and hearing, and you'll also become very strong in the ability to have discernment, right? And you'll be able to identify people because you'll be able to identify their energies. You'll start to have stronger clairvoyances, and there are many, so be sure to look them up. But we were talking a lot about that, and I was just telling her, I practice abstinence. That came from just me, my upbringing. My children were raised by me predominantly. Was a single parent, and I lived in the city of New York, and I had relatives, and they were predominantly female, and I just didn't grow up seeing men in and out of our home from my grandmother down, and so there weren't a lot of traffic. And so when both of my relationships didn't work, I chose to raise my children without that same back and forth, having a stream of people in and out of my home. And so abstinence was easy for me. It helps too because I'm a Sagittarius. So I don't know if you hear that in my videos. I think a lot of where I come from and the way I move is, I have a moon in Scorpio, my Venus is in Capricorn. We have a lot of different, because of our natal charts, but I digress. We were talking about these things, and I was telling her that when you're beginning your process, you're at a place where you already know that you are going to connect with your divine masculine, and it's going to be divinely guided. And a lot of times prior to you looking into becoming this person that you are, reinventing yourself, right? Because you got to heal from childhood wounds. You have to learn to love yourself. And then once you've learned to love yourself, then you'll be able to get out here and do the work and the mission that God has called for you to do. With that, again, you get these certain gifts God put on you. He'll put youth on you. You know, he will make you look younger than you are to reach the audience. He will give you the gift of magnetism. You know, people will be drawn in just by your presence. And there's also the downfall because people who don't want that life, people who don't want to be close to the light, people who do not want to live outside of the matrix, people who want to sustain that life, you'll irritate their demons, their darkness with those same gifts. So I hope this is making sense. I'm trying to make this under 10 minutes. So as we were talking, I had explained to her that when you practice an abstinence, you do become stronger. And there are steps that you have to take where you start to have to recognize what love is if you're loving yourself. And you also have to recognize people that you who are not loving you and loving who you are. It's a lot of steps, a lot of working inwardly, and then you begin to work outwardly. Because when you love yourself, therefore you can love others, and therefore you will pull in love. The same love that you are exhibiting to yourself is what people will come in to your life and join you in loving you. Because it's not about going out to find love for people to love you and make you feel full. You have to fill yourself up first, if that makes sense. Me and her were also talking about, how you really do lose family and friends. You start to ascend where materialistic things no longer matter. You start to count on God more, the Most High. You're not stressing about things, meeting things, and having things because you already know that in your sleep you make money. You know that every day you wake up, life comes easy for you. Every day that you wake up, you know that opportunities come to you by the thousands. You are never without your favorite food. You are never without your favorite TV show. Every day you get up, you have gratitude for all that you have and everything that's on the way. So you just start talking over your life. It comes naturally. But what I want you to take from this is as you get to those stages, you truly work, you still want to date. And we hear a lot about narcissism and we hear a lot about manipulative people. But avoidant people are real too. Avoidant people are the people who are in and out of being a divine feminine, masculine, and also tiptoeing between their ego and that unconditional love space. And it's kind of hard for people like them because they're working off of past hurts and pains growing up and how anyone in that area distributed any type of emotional love, support, and if they didn't get it in the correct way, they're going to avoid you while still wanting you. And I'll talk a little bit more about that more in part 2, or maybe if anybody's interested. But I don't know if you've been seeing it online a lot. People are talking a lot about the runner chaser. And that's kind of along the lines where the avoidant comes from. And you might be a divine feminine who has found someone where you have this magnetism towards them, but you just can't seem to understand why they're avoiding you. Don't take it personal. Because if you are in your divine feminine, you already know the nurturing and the patience that requires you to be with that person. Another thing, and I'm talking in terms of meeting your divine because we are supposed to so that we can complete our mission. We can't do it without each other. There is supposed to be a protector and there's supposed to be the person who is, providing the love. And as divine feminine, we can't do both. We need our protector, right? And they need the unconditional love in order to do it. And so there's this huge process. And what I want you to take away from today, there is a process. There are steps. And I'm going to try to go through more. If you're interested, be sure to like, share, and follow so that other divine masculine feminines can learn from this. They are blocking my stuff because, when you start talking real stuff, they're like, But I wanted you all to know as you come to my page, because you keep coming back. But no, on the real, understand that there are steps and you just don't jump into them. You are going to go through some pain. You are going to lose some people. You are going to have things taken from you. And the key here is that you have to remain in love and you have to remain in a space where you are not grudgeful, bitter, or angry. Otherwise, there's no sense. It's all about being authentic, loving yourself, and saying, hey, this isn't my reality. It's just a battle and I'll get through it. I hope this helps, and I'm going to try to put more out. Peace, love, and abundance. Love you.